Hello, my friend. Welcome back to the Mindset Check podcast. I'm your host, Mesha McKittrick. This is a podcast where we believe that as you take time for a mindset check, you have more power than you think you do, and where we also believe that when you give, you receive so much more in return. My friend, it is spring. It is spring. It's one of my favorite times of the year. I love when the earth is warming up and we're getting a little bit more sunshine and things are changing. Our activities change, and our desire to be outside changes. I adore the nights that my family and I sit outside on the patio and we literally marvel because we go, where does my skin end and the air begin? It feels so pleasant to be out there. So I'm telling you this to help you drink in this season, because sometimes it can pass us by so fast and we forget to drink it in. A few weekends ago, we took our dog through the river and he ran like crazy while we just walked for a very long time. It felt amazing. So I just want to remind you to make sure that you get out and enjoy the blossoms, the sunshine, and the beautiful weather of spring. All right, my friend, today on the podcast, I'm just bringing you something that all of us need to remember. I need to be reminded all of the time to pause some of the busy things to take care of what is most important. And that's the reminder that we're going to jump into today. Let's get started. I want to start by sharing a story with you that is called salt. I heard my mother asking the neighbors for salt, but we had salt in the house. I asked her why she was asking the neighbors for salt, and she answered me, because our neighbors don't have a lot of money, and they often ask us for something. From time to time, I also ask them for something small and inexpensive so they feel that we need them too. This way, they will feel more comfortable, and it's easier for them to keep asking us for everything they need. Respect for human dignity is undoubtedly one of the noblest feelings, and that's exactly what I learned from my parents. Let's build empathetic, warm, humble, supportive children and other values to be valued. I love that story by Fatima Anfig because it reminds us that when we have that state of reciprocity between another person and us, that there's no burden in exchange and in sharing. There's part of give and take that makes us all human. And the truth is, it's great that, they already had salt in the house and she was able to ask for salt, and that it was kind of this way of normalizing a need. But the truth is we all need at certain points. And sometimes we give and we give and we give and we don't find ourselves in a place of need for a while. And then when we do, it's so great how that state of reciprocity really does come back to us. I also really love the undercurrent of this story that when children watch us give, they learn humility and empathy and reciprocity, right? They internalize dignity, just as the mother taught her neighbors to feel needed. And so in this podcast episode, I really wanted to dive in deeply to just simply remind our hearts to push pause in our busy life and to recognize needs and places that we can show up around us, and the kindness that we can participate in, and the helping that we can give. Because when we give, it comes back to us. Just today, I was talking with my mom on the phone, and I have a son that's on a mission, which means he's away from our family for 2 years, serving and helping people and teaching people all about Jesus and all kinds of really, really wholesome things. But he also has his own, level of carrying the torch, right? He's very busy and he's constantly placed with different companions and people who have different personalities, and trying to work through and just really let love reign in places. And through this experience, he is learning so many incredible things. But today I was talking with my mom, and she was reading me an email that he sent her. And it was Easter Sunday that we had sent him this little voice memo. We don't talk to him, freely every day or whenever we want. We really only talk to him on, special occasions or holidays or on what's called his P day. It's a day that they have to make all their phone calls, do all their laundry, their grocery shopping, to try to fit in some fun, some R&R, some of that during their week. And so we usually talk to him on that day. But on Easter Sunday, we were watching the sunrise, and we decided to just kind of take a moment to send him a voice memo. And so he wrote this email to my mom, and literally when she was reading it to me, I was like crying, just my heart was just overflowing so much. And part of what he said was, Grandma, I know when you were talking to me in that voice note, I had a realization. Because she was telling him about how things were really hard in 2020, and the even not going to church and being a part of a community and being, surrounded by people, because she lives alone. And so 2020 was largely spent for her just honestly being on FaceTime calls with us and really doing our best to try to reach out and connect in those ways, because we weren't connecting physically. And so Scotty was saying to her, I had this realization of what you actually went through, during that time. And it also flooded me that I have this need to really make sure that I reach out and sit by the people who come to church who are alone, right? Especially elderly ladies and men who come to church and they don't have a spouse and they don't have someone sitting next to them. They're coming alone. And he continued to say, Grandma, I just want you to know how much I love and respect and admire you, and how much I know that desire to be with people who feel alone has come from me watching you, and you still show up in all of these ways, and he was really just pouring his heart out to her in such a way that if I read you his letter, you would cry too. And then he had written me a letter this week as well that, again, just was so full. It was so giving, and so it just dropped us all into gratitude. And I was reading that one to my mom. I know, here we are sharing each other's emails back and forth, but it's like enough fit to burst our heart. And the email that Scotty had written to me was about a package that my mom and I had sent him for Easter, and how much it just made his heart explode with the things that we thought of to put in there, and the way that it, we included his companion or his friend that he's serving with side by side right now. And just, he said some of the sweetest things. And then one of the things that he said in the email, after just pouring out gratitude for the things that we send him and the ways that we show up for him, it's literally so great how much gratitude he feels in his heart. And one of the things that he said was, I don't know how to give back to you, but I do know how to give of myself to everyone I get to serve right now. And I know that somehow through the universe, through Christ, that is giving back. And he said something similar in my mom's email too. It's just like, basically, because you've given me so much love, I know now how to love the people who show up, who are lonely and who are in the same position as you, and so he just really just poured out all of this gratitude and all of this love. And then after that conversation where my mom and I were sharing, my mom was like, all right, Mesh, what are we going to send him next? So it is so cool to see that that display of love is creating Scotty to want to love. It's creating my mom and I to want to love and give more, and kindness is literally like throwing a rock in a pond, and you have ripple after ripple after ripple. There are ripple effects of kindness that come with kindness. One day I was in the grocery store and I could tell that there was a need that the woman ahead of me had. And, I could see she needed help, and I just helped her. And it felt easy, and I tried to do it kind of simply and really under, low key. And after she left, the clerk, who was somewhat of a standby witness to what happened. She was ringing me up and she gave me extra coupons and extra money off, the gas thing, and everything that she could do, that she could unlock from me, she did for me. And so don't you just think that it's so wild to sit back and to see that kindness unlocks kindness. That when we give and when we love and when we create a space for each other, that it unlocks the best parts of our heart. And the thing is that nobody's here to sit by and say which person benefits the most, the giver or the receiver. Because there's all of these research studies done that the same chemicals are released in the giver as though we were the ones receiving it, and vice versa. There are incredible chemicals that are actually released inside of your body that allows you to drop into that great big feeling of love. We actually release something called oxytocin inside of our body. It's this care hormone. It's been called the bonding hormone. It's all of this incredible, feel-good chemicals. And it actually lowers our anxiety. It heightens feelings of safety. It dulls physical pain. When we have more oxytocin flowing through our body, we are biologically primed to explore, to connect, to take healthy risks. We literally are just more stable in life. It's incredible. I think it's really poignant to be able to look at maybe a time that you struggled the most in your life or when things felt really hard, and look around and see just the people who stabilized you. And sometimes it wasn't even that they reached out and did so much for you versus them just being this example and this place where they just constantly were who they were, which is also just a giving, warm space, and sometimes unknowingly we influence people in our lives just by being us as well. So I don't want anything to be lost in our lives in the arena of we got too busy. We pause and we take time to actually be with our people and to love our people and to listen to the little voice inside of ourself, right? That one that doesn't actually speak in words, that prompts us to be able to reach out of ourselves, to help, to teach, to lift, to do whatever it is inside of us, to help somebody else feel that reciprocity and that love and that kindness, so that they experience all of the goodness too. And, before we start thinking oh my word, but it just takes so much time, I want you to think about something that Simon Sinek said. He said he was talking to one of his friends and she had read an article that it said it only takes 8 minutes to have a deep conversation or just a normal exchange, even just hearing the voice of a loved one or someone that you really care about, that you can be supported by. It goes such a long way. And they made a code because there was a time when she was struggling and she tried to reach out. She was like, hey, do you want to come over? But it just sounded like every other text. And that time he didn't make it over to her house. And when he found out later that she had been struggling, he felt frustrated. And she said, but I did reach out to you. And from that point forward, just because he wanted her to know, if I had known for you, I would have dropped everything, no matter what. If I would have known it was that you were actually in a struggle versus, hey, do you just want to hang out? We'll hang out in a week because he was busy, not a big deal, or whatever. But the point is when we know our people are struggling, that we place a higher priority, and we really do need to let people know those things. And so the great thing is they came up with this code, and this code was they would just text each other and say, do you have 8 minutes? And it was all based on all the findings from this article that 8 minutes can really offer comfort and understanding and kind of ground us again during times of stress or need, just to hear the voice and feel the love and the energy of people that we love and care about. So they had created that code, and now they just text each other and say, do you have 8 minutes? When they kind of need that boost of moral support, And I thought, how cool is that? Let's talk about that with our people. Let's make sure that we have a code that we don't have to say, hey, I'm struggling or I need you, but maybe we have a code that just says, hey, can you can you be here for me right now? Just for a moment, just for a little bit, because I need the lift that you can give me. And whenever we help other people, it literally lifts our vibration. It's one of the very best things that you can do to elevate your vibration and where you are residing. It automatically can pull you out of the deep, dark, low feelings, because all of a sudden we're helping people and it drops us into a different feeling. And so I really love that idea that hey, I help people because I know what it does for them and I know what it does for me. I love the reminder to help you see to be a giver and a faucet. Now, what I mean by that is, you always hear people saying be a giver, not a taker, be a faucet, not a drain. But quite frankly, sometimes we are the ones that need to send the text that says, hey, do you have 8 minutes? And that's really okay. It's just being able to look at it from the standpoint of man, the more you give, the more that just comes back to you. The more that you are a faucet, the more that comes back to you. The more that you are there for people that you absolutely love and adore, the more meaning your text that says, do you have 8 minutes, lands when they get it, and they'll drop anything, right? To be able to be there for you as well. What you give, you get back. You never need to get caught up in reciprocity. If it doesn't come now, it will come at some point. I think one of the best examples of that is being a parent. We consistently pour into these children, and then really when they leave home, we get all of this gratitude. At least that's been a great experience for me when I do receive gratitude from my kids. When they go off to college, Mom, oh my word, thank you so much for helping me learn how to clean and how to, all of these different things. And they start to see what they've had the whole time, so obviously it shows up as in our parenting, but it shows up everywhere. You're not going to get reciprocity from one person. Sometimes it feels like we can reach and reach and reach out, but sometimes people just need help, and the reciprocity comes back to you through other angles and through other avenues. And sometimes that's simply just you getting out of your own brain to be able to see that the sun is shining, and so that you can drop into really amazing and good vibrations inside of that. You receive the most when you give, when you teach, when you help. It shapes you into a better person because of what you learn, what the chemicals, and everything that's happening in your body, the way that you level up in vibration, because of the person that it shapes you into being, because what you are helping with or what you're teaching becomes more clear to you in your mind. You get clarity, you get stability in your life because you know that you are a person that can help other persons. It's literally incredible. So remember that every time you hand someone a little bit of salt, you are lighting a fire of dignity and connection, one that warms you both. Today, just a little opportunity or a challenge to choose a small gesture, even if it feels tiny in the moment. But remember just to do something, to reach outside of yourself to another person, to show kindness or love, help them in whatever way that you feel inspired to do. Keep shining and keep giving. Keep going, my friend. I hope that you can see that in showing up for other people, you have more power than you think you do. All right, my friend, I hope that you feel inspired from that podcast episode. A reminder to subscribe, rate, and review the Mindset Check podcast so that you don't miss future episodes that are coming up, and also so you can boost this message and so that it can get out to more and more and more people. A reminder that you really are such an incredible person. Thank you so much for spending your time here on the Mindset Check podcast today. And before we go, I want to leave you with a quote from Booker T. Washington that said, "Those who are happiest are those who do the most for others." Until next time, my friend.